Alright guys, welcome back to Emberware Plays. This is our first impressions of Teslagrad. It was a game that was made in December 2013 by Rain AS, and it's a puzzle action platformer. And it's very challenging, but it's a lot of fun. So without any further ado, let's just hop right in.
The first thing that I noticed in this game, I think about, is the menu music.
Yeah.
And it's very, very pretty music. But the second you start the game, it's gone. And it was really strange to have been playing many games where music is always integral to just have the absence.
It's not really that it's absent. The music never completely goes away, it just kind of fades out. Because in puzzle games, if the music is too distracting, you're not going to be able to think well enough. But that is used in another way, in that whenever the music is loud, that means there's a plot element on the screen. So the volume of the music is used in different ways to ensure that the game kind of draws your attention to what's most important.
You pointed out that they have a lot of audio cues. Whenever you use the gloves to punch things, use this thwack sound. Or when you get the little creatures, you hear them bumping about, or you're touching them and they're saying you touch things. And you really like that.
Yeah, because the default balancing for the game audio is what we went in with. And so, it's not uncommon for a game to have sound effects. Most games have sound effects. But this game, because of the quietness of the music and the loudness of the sound effects, there's a lot of very good feedback going on in terms of I'm affecting the world around me. I know that the first couple times we played through this demo, you weren't entirely entranced by this game.
Yes.
But the more that we've played it, the more you've come around.
Yes.
Why is that?
It's a lot of things. 3 or 4 times around the block. And yeah, I went through the game 3 or 4 times. I started to appreciate it, even though it's not something that I'm personally used to. Like, that's why I was questioning you some about it. They do things so well. It's able to grow on me. It's not just that it starts good and stays good. It starts good and goes great because execution is so solid.
Mm-hmm.
But there was only one aspect of the game that I'm upset about. I think that was a slip-up. That was the boss fight. It was so finicky.
It was a hard first boss fight, too. And it didn't have a whole lot to do with the game's mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of had to do with you just making really precise jumps. And it was really well executed.
It was.
But it was tough. For it to be the first thing that you run into in terms of boss fight might not have been the best. Something that's really unique about this game is the fact that the story isn't told through words. It's all told through music and art. Do you think that was a good choice?
It's a game where I see the main villain guy, running in the background. I don't see him ever talking like that. Maybe get the Mario ha 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 kind of thing. But they backed their choice up so well with the other design choices. It wasn't so much that the choice was good, but just how they went about it.
Now that you say that, it makes a lot of sense. Because it's kind of like an old, Mickey cartoon where nobody's saying anything, but you completely understand what's going on.
Yeah. You can tell the intentions, and they're a little bit different from the cartoons. There's so much backstory. One of the first things I noticed was that there were dead guys in this cartoon game. Like, why are there dead guys? Where am I? Like these ancient ruins or something like that?
Uh-huh.
And like I said, this is a demo. We bought the game, and there's a couple of things they don't show in the demo about how you got to this area. And this place isn't just some distant ancient ruin. No, it's part of the city. It's this is a notable landmark. And something happened where this landmark became abandoned, even though it's in the middle of the city.
And there's a lot of questions about what happened, and the game tells you, or at least answers some of them, in the art itself. It doesn't take a special story moment to tell you what's happened. It does it through statues, and it does it through stained glass windows, and it does it through paintings of things that have happened in the past or have happened very recently, in the case of the skeletons.
Yeah.
But it's all the visual context clues of linking the actions happening in the game and the actions happening in the art to the characters, and that immediately sets up tone of the story of who are the bad guys, who are the good guys, and it's so visually easy to identify who's on what side.
And not just for the plot, it's for the gameplay too. when we were going into that infamous boss fight we always like to talk about, the second time through, we paid a little bit more attention to stuff, and they show you how to beat the boss fight.
Yeah.
There's a little picture of the little chompy guy and the boxes, and it shows him in the boxes, and he dies. Yeah. It's like, I'm supposed to be in boxes. And it's like, that's brilliant how it's part of it. There wasn't just force there.
And the boss never taunts you and tells you his weakness on accident. Like, there's no verbal sloppiness there. And, something that you pointed out is that boss has a life meter.
Yeah.
And it's, like, right there in the background. But it's like a little fuel gauge almost. And it's just stuff that, like, games have been so good lately at telling you everything and not making you pay attention that when a game like this comes around, you miss a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you really have to be watching what you're doing to really understand it. You can get through the game, but you don't appreciate it as much.
Yeah. And we were talking about how games aren't really complete as much anymore. This is the kind of game where you can actually play through multiple times and appreciate because there's so much detail. Like I said, we went through this demo many times, and 3 or 4 times we literally just do the same exact thing. Go through the boss fight, get the zappy boots and the gloves, and afterwards the demo ends. But when we got the zap boots, we decided to go back.
We didn't even decide to. I realized as we were going through one of the parts of the level that we returned to, it's like, now I can zap through those electric gates that were killing.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the whole world that I've been walking through is different.
Yeah.
Like, I have incentive now to go back and explore, which to me is incredible.
It is. I mean, this place that felt so familiar is all of a sudden a new world.
And a puzzle that you thought there's one entrance and one exit to, there's one way to go through it, suddenly maybe there's 3 exits. Or maybe you don't have to go through it that way. Maybe there's a completely different way of going through the room that you just didn't think about. Which I think is incredible for a puzzle game to do that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And what's really cool, and what I think is an incredible subtlety on the developer's point, is they've linked the rooms with visual transition. If they hadn't done that, it would have reinforced that mentality of, okay, this is just another puzzle. But because they've linked stuff together, the world feels connected.
Mm-hmm.
I don't go into one door and appear on the other side. I go into a door and the camera follows me through that door. And that connectivity makes it easier to go back and explore because you feel like you're in one space.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're in all these disjointed rooms.
I appreciate how they introduce puzzle elements way before they're really used. The first thing that comes to mind is the little bugs. We don't use these little slug bugs that make these funny noises until way later. But I learned about their existence and how they kind of interact really soon. Or the magnetizing blocks that can go either or. I don't have my punchy gloves yet, but I have these little robot guys that do it for me, so I can see these things that happen. And so whenever I finally have to interact with myself, I know the drill already.
And the fact that because you can re-explore different areas, the puzzles evolve as you come back, like I was saying before. It's not the same room twice, ever.
Yes.
Because you come back and you have a fresh look on things,
Mm-hmm.
which is very important for replayability.
The tools they give you, we only got 2 of, I'm guessing 4.
Mm-hmm.
But between those 2, especially the boots, I really felt important and strong. Big deal about when you play games, you want to feel like you're doing something, and I felt it.
But it's very important that, kind of reiterate from the capsize video, the game gives you a lot of tools to navigate the environment, but it never makes you feel like you're omnipotent. You know that you've got all these different ways to get around, but the environment at the same time comes up with all these new surprises for you that's like, well, you thought zappy boots were cool. Welcome to all these dogs.
You mentioned the dogs, and I'm guilty of dying to the dogs. Death isn't too much of a penalty in this game. There's no life system, there's no health system. You don't have to worry about it unless if you screw up, it just gets reset.
Yeah, you get put back at the beginning of the room that you're in, which is good, because so much of this game isn't about gamey elements. There's no HUD. There's no life, there's no health bar. So the game really does a good job of taking away all of those more metagame layers
Yeah.
and just kind of plops you into the world, which is important because, like we were saying before, about you really have to be focused on what's happening in the game world, and you can't do that with a lot of UI clutter. Otherwise, you're going to be distracted, or you're going to be concerned about, oh, I just lost a life, rather than, oh, hey, look at that statue that's telling me something about the game I never knew.
I've been thinking about this really hard, and we make this comparison like it looks like Iron Giant. That was a movie that was, okay, I liked it, but I feel like I'm almost playing a cartoon. And the more I think about it, I think that's the reason why it kind of grows on me, is because I almost feel like I'm watching this adventure cartoon, maybe more of a cartoon movie. So if you guys enjoyed Teslagrad as much as we did, you can pick it up on Steam, Mac, Linux. It's $10. Thanks for watching, guys, and what did you think about Teslagrad?